goes into the water with concentric circle, right? And so that will be my eternal circle, that the new knowledge will become all knowledge, that and after new knowledge will come and become all knowledge. And sure enough, that has been my life, right? Really. So after that, those three experiences, I just knew that I had to do something with healing, right? But I didn't know because nobody in my family were either MDs, nurses, or healers or whatever. So I started to ask around. I started to ask my clients, and one of them said, "You know what? Maybe you should talk to that guy who's coming to visit me like during the weekend. He's a Chinese doctor." So I said, "Heck yes, yeah, I would love to see him." And so
Oh, can't hear you.
any better?
Oh yeah, there you go. That's clear now.
I apologize, really. And so anyway, that Chinese doctor told me when I met him, he gave me three books to read. So one was the Tao Te Ching, which is a philosophical book, a Chinese philosophical book. The other one was called the Hara, Hara, which is like a Japanese technique. They call that the belly. That's why the Japanese people kill themselves traditionally with a knife over the center of gravity. So that was the Hara. And one about acupuncture, which was about, basically the man between the earth and the sky. So after when the season was over, I just went to visit him. He gave me a treatment, and we talk about Chinese medicine. And he said, "Alan, if you really want to know what you're doing, you need to go to China. I spent 10 years learn Chinese, and after you can practice." And I was 30 years old at that time. I said, "Man, I want to practice one day." So he looked at me and he said, "You know what? You look strong. Why not chiropractic?" So I said, "Okay, all right, let's find out." So he gave me some contact there, some French people. And sure enough, I got the information. I got the information from the school, translated by one of my best friends, that she was an English teacher. Next thing you know, the following year, I sold my boat. I sold my boat business, and I ended up, um, get my first treatment in America, in South Carolina. So that's how it started.
Oh, I mean that's one that's one hell of a freaking introduction to all this in a way. I mean that's you kind of got thrusted into it in a way,
Yeah,
but
actually, I'm so lucky because my mission in life, has been given to me, right? I mean, there was, when your mission is given, first of all, you cannot say no. It just doesn't even cross your mind. You have to try it, right? And second of all, it's such a privilege because you just know. There's no discussion there. You just have to do it. And so, yeah, I was blessed, definitely.
so I guess the first well to clear up for everybody what what does it mean to be a mind clearing doctor? Like what does that mean you're doing
Yeah.
nowadays?
Well, often, your life circumstances like dictate what you're gonna do. I just maybe sometimes it starts like in my case, when I graduate, I become a chiropractic physician. Why? Because when I started to investigate that chiropractic things, I came across like what we call the innate intelligence, your ability to heal yourself, and that was really attractive to me, and that was the decisive factor for me just to go for it, right? So after I did graduate after 3 years in Kansas City, Missouri. That's where I'm practicing right now, and I met my wife. She's my first wife, but she's a French woman too. We met in a bar in Kansas City, got married, and we had a daughter. And so at the beginning, I was treating people, and people will get better, but after they will plateau, right? And to maintain the plateau very quickly, actually, they will plateau. To maintain the plateau, they still need to get more treatment. So something was wrong, right? I mean, I didn't feel that it didn't fill my expectation, right? I just wanted really to help people as deep and as much as possible, and I could see really the limitation very quickly. So I started to say, oh, maybe we should treat also the chemical stress, which is the inflammation in the body. And sure enough, I was scanning people and muscle testing people to know which organ are under stress and found out what's causing the stress. And my practice started booming, right? I had like 4 employees working for me. I was seeing 250 patients a week. I mean, I was making money. I was living the American dream, right? I mean, that's all it was. But the problem is like I was like overworked because all my mind was always on my patient, right? So when I was coming home, I was not there. I was not present at all, right? I was just there like a zombie. So what I decided to do, well, you know how it goes after my relationship went down the drain, right? And so in within 1 year, Jeremy, I ended up, divorcing, right? That's number one. Number two, my practice went from thriving to failing. So I lost all my employee and I was by myself. I was by myself in the at the office. And also I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer. And I was living in my office, right? I thought, oh, I'm going to live in my office like for few months, and I ended up living in my office for 3 years, right? So that was quite an experience for sure.
Sounds like it. And I mean, it, so basically, when did you start to do the? When did you start doing the mind clearing and body clearing? Is that a new thing, or was that like a
Yeah,
few
it
years
is.
after you started?
I created that thing there. So what happened? I just wanted to, because I knew that there was something within me that pushed me. There was a force behind me. Intuitively, I knew that there was a force behind, that pushed me to sabotage my health, my relationship, and my prosperity. Right. So I just went on a quest. Right. And I knew few things that I knew 100%. First of all, if you got a problem in life, Jeremy, you need to know two things in order to solve it, right? Number one, you need to know what's causing the problem, right? If you don't know what's causing the problem, how can you fix it? Number two,
Exactly.
you need to know how to fix it, right? And that's it. And after you can move on, the problem is gone, right? So that's why I noticed with chiropractic, well, the problem was not gone, right? I mean, just to maintain a certain level, right? We cannot move on. And so I started to get intrigued with the mind because what I was doing, I was helping the people physically, chemically, but not emotionally and mentally. So I went on a quest and I started to learn technique, emotional technique and things like that. So I will basically tell that person, oh, you've got neck pain because you've got that negative emotion, for example, anger, grief, or whatever it is, and correct that. And it was working, more or less. And I use this technique also to start to jumpstart my healing, right? Because you have to understand that I was helping people not to get inflammation or to minimize the inflammation in their body. And I got diagnosed, and I was doing my program, right? And I got diagnosed myself with, the second killer in this country. So I really had to rethink everything that I knew about health, about relationship, and about prosperity, right? And so when I started to study the mind, I was like, it was amazing because I realized that we actually live in two separate worlds at the same time. What we call the inner world and the outer world. So what is the outer world is basically what we call our conscious mind, right? It's our self, our personality, who we think we are, what we think we can do, we cannot do, what we are aware of, our thought, our emotion, our behavior, and our action, right? So that's called the conscious mind. And being a world, this is like the mystery, right? And it's like paranormal in a way, right? Because we don't have really access to it. We cannot really have a conversation with it, And so what happened it's called the subconscious mind, right? And the subconscious mind basically record everything you have been doing in your life, Jeremy, from age zero to now. It's where you skill as a podcaster, as a dad, and all your skills are stored there, right? And also, like all the automatic system in your body, like your heartbeat, like your breathing, your bowel movement and all that. This is all stored in your subconscious mind, right? And just to show you how powerful the subconscious mind, the conscious mind process data at 11 bits per second. The subconscious mind process data at 11 million bits per second. So that's the big elephant in the room, right? That everybody's focusing only on the conscious mind. So when after I went deeper and I realized that actually, if you look at the ratio between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, your conscious mind, so imagine that who you think you are, what you are aware as a human being, it's only 5 or 10% of your mind, Jeremy. So
Yeah.
95% of your mind is the subconscious mind that you are not even aware of. And so yet for healing, transformation, and growth, what we focus on only on our conscious mind. So how do we expect to have great result if we use only 5 or 10% of our brain power and our mind power? So I thought, what if we can bring the subconscious mind to the party, right? What if we can use 95% or 90% of our healing powers, to the party? What if we can use 90 to 95% of our mind power, to help us heal, transform, and grow?
I mean, it's funny. I was on a podcast yesterday morning. I was guesting on one, and I try to say that we only use 10% of our minds, and the host is like, "Oh, that's been disproven." I'm like, "No, it hasn't." I'm like,
No,
"We
it
may
hasn't.
know what more we may know what more of the mind does now, but we do not are definitely not using more than 10% of our minds. Otherwise,
Well,
we would."
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
sorry.
people get confused with mind and brain. You see, lots of
Yeah.
like. Let me give you the big picture in a way, like the analogy with a computer, right? So just the computer. So our brain, it's only our hard drive. No, it's not like our thoughts are not in our brain. So that's a big misconception here. So the brain is the hard drive. The software is your subconscious mind. The output of your software is your conscious mind, and your behavior it's reflected in the screen of life. So basically, Jeremy, if you have if you got a good program, right, a good software, you're gonna love what you got on the screen of life. You're gonna love your life, right? If you've got a software that is working against you instead of working for you, right, you're not gonna enjoy your life too much, right? And so, what's creating those program, we can go into that, right? And so that's where the man clearing doctor came from, right? I just wanted to find a way to communicate with the subconscious mind, right? To use 95% of our mind power to, again, heal ourselves and transform yourself and grow. So I went on a quest and I started to do things out of the blue. I call that my insight. I'm just treating patients and things come, and I started to do things. And again, within 3 years, I did develop that technique. So what this technique is about is basically, remember we talk about the subconscious mind, right? But there's a big part that I didn't tell you yet. So that can be programmed. Our mind can be programmed. So what do I mean by that? Especially from age 0 to 6 years old to 8 years old, because we don't have too many filters, right? So what we see in the outside world, we believe it's the truth, right? So we assume it's the truth. And if the assumption is repeated, it becomes a program. So we've got two kind of programs, Jeremy. You've got the program that are serving you, right? We call that empowering beliefs. Empowering beliefs. That's the program we're serving you. And you've got the program that are not serving you anymore, right? They will have a usage, before, but now they're not serving you. And so they are called limiting belief, right? Limiting belief. So the more limiting belief you have, obviously, the less you're gonna enjoy your screen of life, right? The less you're gonna enjoy your life. So basically, the goal is just to delete. So there's 3 steps in the mind clearing process. Step number 1, what you want to do, you want to delete the limiting belief, right? Step number two, you want to replace them by empowering belief, right? And step number three, you want to create that into your life. You want to make sure that the outcome is manifested in the screen of life, right? Remember, we talk about that. So those are basically the three steps of mind clearing.
Which you're right. There is a big difference between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. I've actually, I had a reading done on my show a couple months. Well, actually, no, well, actually, baby's 4 months old. So like a little over 4 months ago, I had a reading done right before baby was born, and she read a couple of my past lives. Like she like looked into my past lives, and I forget one was a back in like the 1300s. I was a trader in the Middle East and in the middle of the Sahara somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. And then I honestly don't. Oh, and in one, I think I was actually like it was like Viking times. I don't know exactly what I was doing. I think I was like a shaman of some type, but she was really vague. She said she wasn't getting much details on it, but I was some kind of shaman. She couldn't get more than that out of it. But so I mean, I am a huge believer in past life regressions. I think they are a great tool to use to unlock parts of our mind we can't, to see kind of, because we follow fate throughout all these lives. Whether you believe they are actual past lives or just alternate lives happening concurrently, which actually, what do you believe?
That's a
Is it
possibility.
actually,
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's all past lives that actually were in the past, or do you think it's all kind of just alternate realities?
Well, I mean, that's a debate, right? I mean, we don't know for sure, right? I mean, let's face it, but for sure, for me, that did the trick, because I was like experiencing it, right? And so maybe you can say, oh, yeah, that's your mind going this way, and by why, and after getting the book and getting really more specific on what my mission on life was really a blessing for me. So whatever it is, it did work for me, right? It was a total life changing process, totally. And so,
It does, yeah, it does work. I mean, that's not, don't get me wrong, it 100% works. I had my mind blown the first time I had someone tell me, like, oh, it's all concurrent lives. And I was like, what are you talking about? How can it be concurrent lives? And she's like, well, I'll tell you. She's like, I literally can walk into this room. We'll call it a room, for lack of a better word. And she's like, when I'm in this room, I can see kind of like in mirror shards all my concurrent lives happening at once. And some of these lives I've died already, and some of these lives I'm still living.
yeah, time is a weird thing, because I mean that's not my area of specialty, obviously. But I'm saying time is just it's man-made in a way, right? I mean, we just the problem. I had one experience that I could say I was in the present, and the way. So I don't know how long it lasted, but when I know it was like I will describe like a brainwash in a way because you don't have your past. The past was not there for me. I was like totally like fresh. I don't know how to describe that because with those limiting belief and all that, what you realize is your past is the one that gets you in trouble, right? Your challenges, your trauma, your things, it's all in the past as memorized, right? So the past dictates your present and mold your future,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we can impact the past and delete those the things that we don't want, basically, to keep it very simple, and download what we want, now we can create, more what we want, and that's why the mind clearing is so powerful because people think about limiting belief, they think about some self-esteem problem, not being good enough, and this is not only that. This is I treat pain with this thing. Pain that has been there for 10 years, 20 years can go away in a couple of visits. So what I want to people to understand that limiting beliefs are not only an abstract things. They are traumatic event. They are also the pain can stay because of a limiting belief and never leave your body. Symptom this is what we call the body clearing, right? Which is pain and symptom and inflammation in the body, right? And so that's something that I teach. But also for goal and success clearing, right? If you want to reach your goal, why not bringing 90 or 95% of your mind power to the party again, right? And so this is whose limiting belief. There's so many, and how to communicate with a subconscious mind. In my field, there's so much understanding. I feel like people in my field is like they don't speak the same language. That's that the subconscious mind. It's almost like we're on a podcast here, and you see, I had problem with my Mac, right? So imagine my microphone is not working any longer, and yours too. And we try to communicate, via video, sign language, maybe write down something. I mean, that's tough, right? That's going to be hard. So you're going to have to journal, you're going to have to do lots of repetition of affirmation or whatever, And so that's just hard. You need you need to stay focused for a long time. You need like an iron will to do that. With a mind clearing, it's like on the spot. So how come it's on the spot? That's the question, right? Well, it's because you have to the mind clearing communicate with us, and the first things that come to mind, right? It's dreams. Right? Dream comes from your subconscious mind, right? And what do you remember of a dream? There's always a picture associated with a dream, or a series of pictures, like a movie, right? I never had anybody told me that, hey, you know what, Dr. Salas, I remember my dream, and all I remember is the smell of it, right? There's always a picture. So I realized, oh, that's how the subconscious mind store the data. That's why it's so much more powerful than the conscious mind, right? Because it just put a picture, and a picture is just worth 1,000 a word, right? So I say, well, you know what? So, for example, if you've got some pain, right? Because I just want people to understand that this can work for everything in life, And I used pen a lot to monitor my progress when I was refining my technique, right? Because pain, either it's there, it's not there, so you've got instant feedback. So let's say, Jeremy, you have heard of me and you've got low back pain, right? And so what happened, you come to see me, and I say, okay, so what I want you to do, Jeremy, just to visualize, take a picture and make sure you are in the picture, right? Make sure you are in the picture. And I want you to visualize you having the worst pain ever, right? So in your low back, obviously. So you've got that. And so what we will do, we'll delete that limiting belief. So because that picture is going to be the representation of your limiting belief. It's in there, right? And so you visualize that, and I will customize a specific customized program for you to download. You are doing the healing. You are using 90% of your mind power to heal yourself. I'm just a guide, you see? Because the misconception is like they will tell you, oh, we need to find out what are your limiting beliefs. I say, heck no, you don't need to. You don't have to. How do you expect your analytical mind, that is 5 or 10% of your mind, to crack the code of 90% of your mind power? That's almost impossible when you think about it, right? I mean, good luck. So you don't have to find the limiting belief, right? And people think I'm crazy when I say that, but you don't. You just replace, which is step number 2. You replace, with limiting belief by empowering one. So I will say, okay, now we're done with deleting the limiting belief. Now I will say, Jeremy, what I want you to do is just to visualize the opposite of that picture. The best outcome for you, for your low back. So you visualize that. Maybe you'll be walking on the beach. Maybe you'll do yoga, whatever it means to you, right? The picture is coming from your mind, from your subconscious mind, actually, right? And so that's your picture, right? And after we'll definitely download a customized program, it doesn't take long. You will be downloading that. And after we'll do the same things with creating things. So it's what I love with that. Remember, we talk about the innate intelligence, your ability to heal yourself. That was very attractive to me. That's why I did the chiropractic things, right? That's why I become a chiropractic doctor. Well, this is here. You have been empowered, by giving the right technology to communicate with your own subconscious mind and to heal yourself, to transform yourself, to grow as a human being, because you can even treat, I teach people how to treat themselves, but also helping their loved ones, right? So this technique is designed also for lay people. Of course, if a professional really want to make a big difference, health professional, for example, coaches and health professional, if they really want to make a difference with their patient, they can use that technique, of course, and keep whatever they are doing. But this is it's just more I do this technique and more I realize how powerful we are. And we have no idea. We have no idea, trust me, Jeremy, how powerful we are.
I believe it. I mean, I've talked to it's got to be 250 plus people on the show, and the abilities of these different people. There is so much out there that we don't know yet, and I mean, it. I am a huge believer of what a lot of people believe, that there's going to be a huge spiritual awakening that's already started, but it's gonna hit a max point in like the year I keep hearing is 2027, but and I think a lot of people are going to unlock their abilities at that point, and they're going to be able to do more than they ever thought they could do.
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think that's why that technique came up and is right there now, because we're on a crossroad in my book. Either we go with more technology, which is transhumanism, and AI takes over, and we're going to lose our connection with spirit, right? Because the way I see it, imagine, like, let's zoom out a little bit, right? So imagine the sun is the divine, right? It's awareness, it's God, whatever belief you got about it, this is it, right? And after a spark of the sun become your spirit. And this is all on non-duality, meaning that there's no good or bad, no judgment. It's all there is and ever has been, right? And so
Yep.
this is it, right? And after you've got clouds, and after you've got different layers of yourself, and after you've got your physical self, right? And so some people, they've got so many clouds that they think that there's no sun actually. They never felt it, they never experienced it, and they say, oh, the sun doesn't exist. And what I am only my self-identity, meaning I'm only 5 or 10% of my mind, right? You see what I mean? And so what are those clouds, right? Those clouds are your limiting belief, right? They are between your spirit and actually your soul that is in duality, right? So they are in between, right? So what we do, what we want to remove those limiting belief. And after you remove limiting belief, and you can start to feel the sun, the warmth of the sun, occasionally. And after more and more you get rid of you delete limiting belief, and more you are connected to your spirit. So if you are connected more and more connected to your spirit, we call that supernatural. We've got that superpower, but they are not. That's the way we are supposed to be. That's the way we are designed to be. But in between, you've got those those things that are holding us back. And the big lie is to believe that you are only, your self-identity. That's a big lie. And of course, we all have different gifts. I'll give you that. But we all can have those gifts. We all can be psychic, what we call psychic. We all can be telepathic. I truly believe that. But the problem we have are all those limitations that prevent us to connect to spirit. So when we are connected to spirit, and the more we are connected to spirit, not only we can imagine a triangle here, right? And the triangle, inside the triangle, you've got empowering belief. At the top of a triangle, you will have, therefore, positive thought, right? If you've got positive thought, you will have on the base of a triangle on the right side, you will have like supportive emotion. If you've got supportive emotion, you're going to have desirable behavior and productive action, right? And so more you connected, the less you've got limiting belief, more empowering beliefs are taking over, more you're connected to your spirit, and more things that we call supernatural or whatever. That's why I like your title, that it's normal. That's the way we are supposed to be. That's the way we are designed to be. But we have been trapped in that model that we are only a conscious mind, which is crazy.
I mean, it is. It's crazy. I mean, a younger me definitely thought that he only could be what he already was, that he never could accomplish more in life. And then once this podcast came to be kind of out of nowhere, it just was like people tell me like you need to start. I was already on a podcast, like it wasn't my show, but I was already on somebody else's show, and there's like you need to start your own show. They're like you have a voice and opinions that need to be heard, and I'm like thinking to myself, what the hell am I gonna do a show on? I'm like, well, I love paranormal. I'm like, let's do a show on the paranormal, which at the time in my head was okay. We're gonna talk about aliens and Bigfoot every episode. That is not what this became. I quickly realized that's not going to be the end goal for this. This is going to be a very spiritual, very supernatural podcast, and it's going to be well, we get into that other stuff once in a while, but I mean, it's more often I'm talking to people such as yourself who are more in the spiritual, metaphysical realm, and that are trying to help humans be better than they are, trying to help humans become all they can be, and I ended up loving it. I ended up loving the conversations. At first, I was dreading them, but I ended up loving them. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm like, this is what I'm meant to be doing in my side time is getting these people's messages out there. And maybe that's my role in the great spiritual awakening coming. Maybe that's what I was supposed to do because everybody has to have a role in it somehow. I mean, those who don't do anything to get towards it are not going to be able to embrace it and become what they're supposed to be. They're going to just be stuck in that rut, stuck in the matrix, so to speak, in a way.
Exactly.
Which, which actually, that kind of brings me to my next question. So, are we actually the one in control of our lives? Because as you know, there's a lot of theories out there that there actually is a theory that we live in a matrix of type that we live in a virtual reality in a way, and there's also theories off that we are controlled by extra ultra terrestrials to a certain degree. So, are we actually in the ones in control of our lives? Is the question.
Heck no. Heck no. you know, of course not, because we believe, again, we are only a conscious mind, right? We believe that we are, our self-identity. But self-identity, you can call that also the ego, right? And so it's not who we are. At the base, fundamentally, it's not who we are. So we have been trapped in a way by those limiting beliefs that they make us act and behave in a certain way, right? And so that programming, that's the matrix. That programming, those limiting belief, even empowering one, that's the matrix in my book, right? And
Yep.
so now we can debate, because okay, let's maybe for the listener, let's clarify how you get limiting belief. Let me give you an example, right? I think that would be helpful if you don't mind, right? So
Of
let's
course.
pretend there's a little girl. Let's pretend there's a little girl that basically see a dad that is a drunk coming back every night and beat up the wife. What do you think that what kind of relationship, like down the road, romantic relationship, you think that girl's gonna attract into her life?
The same type of relationship she's been seeing. Of
Exactly,
course.
right. Most of the people will agree with that, right? But now it's this, it's a statement, right? Of course, but there's question that comes up, because if you ask that woman now and you say, "Hey, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom?" What she's gonna say? She's gonna say, "Heck no." So the conscious mind is gonna say yes, no, I'm sorry, and the subconscious mind has been programmed and have her doing that as men are predators and women are prey, right?
Yep.
So that's it. That's the program, right? So there's three case scenario for that woman now. Case number one, she married that guy and stuck with him till the rest of her life, right? We all know people like that in an abusive relationship
Mm-hmm.
that they won't get out. Number two, case scenario number two, well, she may get with this guy, and after say no, it's too much, and get another guy, maybe kids along the way, quite a bit of suffering. And usually what those women are telling me, Jeremy, they say, "Hey, I'm done with men. Not good for me. I'm done. It doesn't work for me," right? So they
Mm-hmm.
become aware that this is not good, right? That the true healing will be, because you can heal from and change and transform from like life experiences, right? Of course. But the true healing will be, oh, you know what? Now she's attracting a man that is totally different. He's a kind man, he's a nurturing man, he's a man that support her, respect her, is the man that see her as a equal, right? And so,
Yep.
case scenario number three, she can come to somebody like me, a hypnotherapist, a psychic, whoever, or man clearing, and we can delete this program And like that, she doesn't have to experience that in her life. She can move on. And we can download Empowering One to get a man that is like the way I describe it, that is much more supportive to her, right? So that's number one, right? The number one thing, the question. So we know that she's going to say no, but the subconscious mind programming takes over, obviously. And she's going to attract that. Now, how she's going to attract that guy? She's not going to say, hey, you, come shake my hands. Can you beat me up? It's not going to work that way, right? So that's
No.
why I believe our subconscious mind are connected. You see, that's why we say we are one, right? Doesn't mean that we have to love everybody, of course not, but we are connected, right? And so the subconscious mind is going to say, hey, this guy, right? So intuitively, or just she's going to fall in love with him. And this guy probably has been bullied and now he's a bully, right? And they're going to start that dance together and tango and whatever, dance they want to dance. And that's how it works. Does it make sense?
Yes, I mean I've just like you and everybody else in this world, I've seen that exact scenario happen over and over again, where a woman, either a woman or a man, can get with an abusive
Yep.
partner, and because it's something they've seen in their past, and they think it's okay subconsciously because of that, and it's even if they don't think it's okay subconsciously, it's just subconsciously they're telling themselves this is normal, this is something that's meant to happen when it's not, and it and you're right. There's those scenarios you named are exactly the way it plays out usually. Either they either it's too late and they end up losing their life because of they're not getting out,
Yep.
they're not wanting to get out of it, they'll lose their life because of that. Or B, they just say they're done with men completely, and then a great guy comes along who will treat them like the queen they are, and they don't want to see it. They can't even imagine it, so they don't take the advantage of that, and then they get stuck in the
Because
same
it's not
cycle
their
again.
program. Because it's not their program. That's how powerful that program is. Like you say, and
Yep.
that's a very good. I like the statement that you make. Even if this good guy come, no, she's not going to be attracted to him, right? Because the program say otherwise, and it's not their fault. We say, oh, you have to. Because when we look like we are the observer, right, and you look at the relationship, you say she's crazy, right? No, she's not. There's a good reason. Remember, there's always a cause, right? And you need to know how to fix it to resolve any problem. So the cause of a problem is those program subconscious mind that are not serving her, right? That it's like her mind is working against her instead of working for her, with her, right?
Exactly. I
And so
mean,
that's what that.
I've had it happen. I had it happen to me in a way because I was madly in love with this girl in my teenage years, early 20s, somewhere around there. I forget exactly when it was, but she basically would only date gangsters, guys who were in the street life, and I try
Bad
as
boys.
much as I could, as much as I try to convince her that that's not the way it should be. That these are not the type of guys you want to date. I couldn't break her programming because I wasn't trained to. I couldn't convince her of it, and eventually I just gave up and walked away because it's just like, what's the point? She wants these guys from the streets that are just gangbangers, and I mean, I'm like, that's not my style. It never could be my style. I'm not going to become something like that to please somebody. Like it's just that's the thing. You can't change for these people. You don't want to change, and because then you're getting sucked into their programming, and it's going to make your life worse because it's not the path you're supposed to take.
So you understand what I mean now. That's the real matrix. That's the one that
Yeah,
dictate that what does the matrix, right? That's the illusion, because that's going to change our perception of reality, right? Because let me give you an example. Let's see, I'm swimming with my best friend, right? And we're on a tropical island, and we enjoy. We are in the same environment. We enjoy the same, right? But after, what I didn't know, it's like my best friend. She has like some problem when she cannot see the bottom of the ocean. She freaks out, panic attack, right? And after we swim, and suddenly we cannot see, the bottom of the ocean, and she start to freak out. So we are in the same environment. Are we going to have the same experience? For me, it doesn't matter. I still keep my cool. I don't have a problem. For her, it's totally different experience. Although we are in the same reality, we are in the same environment. We are swimming together, right? So that's what was a limiting belief or that subconscious negative programming can do for you. That's going to affect your perception of reality, right? We can be in
exactly.
the
Yep.
same, looking at the same things, but you're gonna have different feeling, that I do, because we've got a different programming. So again, when we get rid of those cloud, those limiting belief, now we are more truthful. There's three things that are very important that I'm a seeker of. You know, I will say truth seeker, knowledge seeker, and freedom seeker. And those always work together. You have to, in my book, you have to have all those three components, right? And so the closer you are connected to your spirit, the closer you are to perceive the reality the way it is.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. It really does. And it's just to break people of these programs is so difficult. It's not an easy
It's
task, and I
not.
applaud it.
That,
I
it's
applaud I applaud
it's
anybody
not.
like you that actually goes through it, like trying to help people
It's
with this.
not. It's not. Jeremy, it's not. When you can treat the pain, a pain that's been there for 10, 20 years in one or two visits, that's on the spot. That's very quickly. You see, that's why I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's what I tried to communicate earlier, right? That's, they don't, when you don't speak the same language, when the Mac are off, it's hard to communicate. Now with the man clearing, the Macs are on, and you've got the technology to communicate with a circumscribed mind. So people ask me, so where do you start? Well, it's whatever is bothering you the most. So it can be a trauma, a challenge you experience in your life, and you go after that, right? It can be a negative emotion. It can be some negative thinking. It can be, for a little girl, I'm sure she wants to change her relationship, right? It can be about health. It can be about prosperity. But what you have to know, that even if we can treat pain, that can, because we treat the mind as a whole, right? Even whatever positive programming we're going to replace with is going to impact positively not only your health, but also all aspects of your life, including your relationship and your prosperity. So that's why it's not that hard, because there's a domino effect that it's just spread out, very, very quickly.
Exactly. I mean, and well, I wanted to bring up this topic quick, well, because we
Sure.
are getting towards the end, but I mean, we definitely have time for this, and I want to bring it up. What is, because I am not a fan of the medical community and big pharma. What are they what do you think about what they're currently doing to deal with all these different mental health issues, the chronic stress we all go through this day and age, like the diseases? Like, what do you think of like the actual medical community and how they handle these things?
Well, poorly. I mean, there's two things. If you look at the medicine right now, the sickness care system, should I say? So there's one good thing is for emergency room, right? They're saving life. Let's face it, right? They use the
Yeah.
drug, and that can bring you back and things like that. If I break a bone and it's misaligned, I need to have a good surgeon. I want the anesthesia. I want the painkiller. Everything, of
Mm.
course. But for long-term pain and stress, they are the third leading causes of death in this country. First, you've got cardiovascular disease. Number two, cancer. Number three, side effect of the drugs and medical mistake, right? That's the number three killer. So why are they so poorly? Again, they don't find what's causing the problem. They could care less. So if you don't find what's causing the problem, there's no way you can fix it. So what do I mean by fix it? It means that when you do whatever you have to do to heal, after you're done with it, you're moving on, right? No, they treat the symptom because they use the drug because that's a profit, right? I mean,
Exactly.
Rockefeller
Yeah.
took over like in the 1900s, and so that's what happened, right? Because he wanted to sell his oil product, right? And so now we call medication, right? And so that's the way it is, right? So that's why you want to, even in the holistic world, what I do when I treat people, not only I use the mind clearing, but I use also, I see you, Jeremy, if you come to my office, I see you with somebody who's got physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional and mental stress. And I have to treat all your aspects of your being, right? So it means I have to find out what are the causes of the physical stress and how to fix it, right? I became a cranial specialist. I mean, we can go into that, but an emotional or mental treatment is really, you need to deal with the mind. That's why people are confused with a mind body or body mind. Why? Because they treat you physically, which I do, obviously, treat you physically and you feel more relaxed and say, oh, yeah, that's that you release emotion or that's an emotional. I say no, that's a good side effect, but it's not an emotional treatment because the emotional treatment go to the cause of the emotion, which by now we know those are limiting beliefs, for the negative emotion and negative thought and negative behavior that we don't want anymore. Does it make sense?
I mean, it does. It does. I mean, I've been saying for years, I mean, and I talk about it in the show all the time, Big Pharma is the worst enemy to people's well-being because all these pills do is mask what's really there. All they do is cover it up instead of actually healing it. You can't
And
heal.
side effect.
I mean, yeah, some things like, bipolarism, schizophrenia, you could try and balance it out with chemicals, but at the end of the day, that's not really going to heal it. That's just going to give you temporary relief. You need to get to this because if someone's bipolar, there's a point in their life where they split, where their unconscious, subconscious mind split into two, and they decide, or more possibly, but they split and they decide that they need to go back and forth between these two personalities to be a person that is acceptable to society, which is not healthy at all, of course. And so, I mean, big pharma just wants to be like, oh, take this pill every day and you'll be okay. No, you won't be, because eventually the pills are going to build a tolerance and you're not going to be able to do it anymore, and
Sure.
that's when worse things can happen. So, I mean,
Just to
it's the
see,
same thing.
just to illustrate one more thing, just to illustrate one more things with the power of the mind. They know that when they're doing research, they call that the placebo effect, right? So what
Yep,
is the placebo effect? You take people are given pill, right? Some of them are sugar pills. So let's say I've got a heartburn, I take the gone, and soon enough, I just they told me, oh, by the way, that was not the pill, that was the sugar pill. So my belief of the pill will help me did the trick, right? So
exactly.
that we have a placebo. That's what they don't understand. This is a good thing. This is how you heal at the deepest level by using your mind. So they already recognize that, but they say, oh, this is only an effect, right? No, this is true healing. This is really how it works.
And I mean, and the problem is once you're part of that placebo pool, then you're not going to have belief anymore that you're even if your mind did heal itself because you thought it would, because you thought the pills were working, you're not going to believe that you can heal anymore from pills. And then when you actually do need to take a pill for something, it's not going to work because your mind's not going to follow what I mean.
Maybe it
Because
just
I mean,
depends, the prior program that person has, right? I mean, because sometimes they do have a program that, oh, her dad has been healed, right, with taking the pill, and so that's why she believes the pill is only the answer. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend that sometimes like a man's got a knee problem. The wife sent it to me, for example, and I cannot help the knee, right? So I know it's a program, right? And so the program can be, oh, his dad or somebody in his family has been good success with knee surgery. So subconsciously he thinks only knee surgery can help me, right? That's the subconscious programming. And so you can be the best at what you do physically to help the knee and so forth. It's not going to work, or it's going to work and it's not going to last, because that person uh, belief is like, I need a surgery, right? You see what I mean? So it just depends the program we have, that make us heal with a pill, make us heal with only a surgery and things like that we have previously, and accordingly we will react, either like you said, not liking. Not believing in pills anymore, or maybe that person's going to believe in pills more. It's just hard to tell. It just depends our past programming. You see what I mean?
yeah, of course. I mean, it is all programming at the end of the day. It is all
Yes,
programming, and I mean,
it
trying to
is.
think of a
It
good.
is, but it is not, because if you get rid of a mind clearing, now you're connected to your spirit, and that's why I was talking about the crossroad between transhumanism, which is basically having you from within connected to AI, right? With all, I'm just, some people may decide to do that. But of course that's their choice. For me, I will rather get more connected to my spirit, right? And just and make the paranormal normal, right?
Exactly. Uh, Oh, I like that. I like that line. Oh God, I love that line. Well, in the last few minutes we do have, though, I always like to give a chance for anyone who is an author to talk about the book they wrote. So let's talk about the book you wrote that has sold a lot. I mean, the numbers I've seen for your book are pretty astounding. So, what's your book and what's it fully about?
Well, actually, I've got the book. I was more focused on the brain, so this has been this is in the past. Now I decided to do podcasts to clarify my message, to see how the host respond. To what I'm saying. That's for the new book. And that new book is going to be more like I don't know about the title yet. We'll see. But there will be some mind clearing things for sure in it. But right now, what I want is just to teach people how to do that for themselves. If you are like you, if you want to learn it, for example, or some coaches and health professionals, we really want to go to the core of healing, right? And really want to have like transformative result for the patient. So I've got a special offer. So for people who are interested, because we can talk, Jeremy, about that forever, but you have to experience the work.
Yeah,
It's like you've got knowledge and you don't apply it. Who cares, right? It's just a fantasy in your head. So I give 20% of people, like it's a 1 hour treatment, and whatever you want to be treated will do, right? It can be a negative emotion, it can be a past traumatic experiences, it can be anything, right? We know that who's dictate all our negative behavior and action and outcome, right? So this, and if people want to learn it, so there's the entire system. I give 50% off, right? So you've got the mind clearing first, basic. You've got the body clearing, which is about pain, stress, and inflammation, and after you've got the goal and success clearing, right? And so that's it. Just what I want to say. It's like the two things we already mentioned. One we already mentioned. It's like you are so powerful, you have no idea. I had no idea. I
basically.
had no idea myself, and I'm still have no idea because I'm treating myself, of course, all the time. And that's number one. You are so powerful. And number two, if you lost hope, and you think you have been everywhere and try everything, try the mind clearing, right? I hope it makes sense to you how powerful it can be when we use 100% of mind power.
I mean, it's something I've known is possible for a long time, and I think it's going to be the way of the future, hopefully, unless things really do go
Yeah,
downhill in this world.
yeah.
But it's going to be the way of the future, and I I can't wait till we get there. I really can't, and I can't wait to see what we all can do. It's going to be
What
the world will be a better place.
it's an interesting place to live now, time to live now, right? Because
Oh
that
God,
crossroad
yeah,
that I mentioned before. So, whatever happened, but I'm not planning to come back. I'm telling you, I'm done. This is my last one. Oh, yeah.
yeah. Well, whether we have control of that or not is a whole nother discussion for another day. But
Yes,
we'll see.
definitely. We can go deeper on past life and how they're actually programming, right? That's a good question.
Exactly. But I want to thank you for coming on because
Hey, you're
it's
welcome,
been a
Jeremy.
it's been an amazing conversation. And for all those out there, go check out Alan's site, which I'll let him announce in a second what that is. So you can claim that 20% off, 50% off, whatever it may be at the time, and clear your mind.
Yeah. Go to
So
themindclearing.com, right? Themindclearing.com, like you said, I didn't mention it. So you go there, you've got a contact form, you can fill in all the, whatever you want to ask me or whatever service you want. And there's also my email, and let's rock and roll.
there you go, folks. There you go. And you all know where you can find me. If you don't, shame. It's too early for me. It's too early for me to really shame you. But check the outro. It's all there for listeners and watchers. It's been the bottom of the screen this whole freaking time. So don't be lazy. And I will see you all this week at some point. I have more interviews this week coming up. So I will see you then. Until then, have a good Sunday, everybody. If it's actually nice where you are, not rainy and foggy. But have a good one.